Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday Sitdown podcast. You will notice that neither of us are Grant and or Justin.
Oh, I hadn't noticed. Really?
Yeah, shocking. I know.
Shocking.
So if you don't know who we are, my name is Abby. I am the food cupboard coordinator for the summer here at Courtright. And
I'm Annabelle. I'm the digital communications coordinator this summer.
Annabelle also was the one who brought us the word on Sunday morning. Yeah. So that was really cool. Annabelle and I are super excited to be, some Gen Z women taking over the
podcast.
Just like Gen Z does.
Takes over podcasts. Yeah.
Yeah, basically. So we're really excited to kind of talk a little bit about the passage that Annabelle preached on Sunday and some of the things that are difficult to fit into a 25, 30-minute sermon.
Yeah.
We're super excited. So before we kind of get yapping away, I am going to read us this week's passage, which was from Luke 8, verse 40-56. It says, "Now when Jesus returned, a crowd welcomed him, for they were all expecting him. Then a man named Jairus, a synagogue leader, came and fell at Jesus' feet, pleading with him to come to his house because his only daughter, a girl of about 12, was dying. As Jesus was on his way, the crowds almost crushed him. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years, but no one could heal her. She came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak, and immediately the bleeding stopped. 'Who touched me?' Jesus asked. When they all denied it, Peter said, 'Master, the people are crowding and pressing against you.' But Jesus said, 'Someone touched me. I know that power has gone out from me.' Then the woman, seeing that she could not go unnoticed, came trembling and fell at his feet. In the presence of all the people, she told why she had touched him and how she had been instantly healed. Then he said to her, 'Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace.' While Jesus was still speaking, someone came from the house of Jairus, the synagogue leader. 'Your daughter is dead,' he said. 'Don't bother the teacher anymore.' Hearing this, Jesus said to Jairus, 'Don't be afraid. Just believe and she will be healed.' When he arrived at the house of Jairus, he did not let anyone go in with him except Peter, John, and James, and the child's father and mother. Meanwhile, all the people were wailing and mourning for her. 'Stop wailing,' Jesus said. 'She is not dead, but asleep.' They laughed at him, knowing that she was dead. But he took her by the hand and said, 'My child, get up.' Her spirit returned, and at once she stood up. Then Jesus told them to give her something to eat. Her parents were astonished, but he ordered them not to tell anyone what had happened." It's a pretty hefty passage.
A lot happens.
So much happens.
Hence why we have a podcast. We can go deeper than we do on Sundays.
So where do you want to start us off? What are you itching to say?
I think a main thing that we should right out of the gate talk about is that these stories are about healing. Like, they're about healing. And they're powerful stories, but it's also hard. It's hard to hear about stories about healing sometimes, especially when you're going through seasons of life when you're not being healed or you're needing healing or physical. We're talking about like physical healing. So I think we should start there of like, there's a quiet grief in not yet, in the waiting, in the...
And there are a lot of people in our church community who are in that season of waiting for healing and not knowing if or when it will come. And that's a really difficult place to be in, especially when you're hearing about healing that does come to pass being preached about.
Yeah, and I think that's why, like, while I was writing my sermon, I was trying to get that message across of like, this is hard and we don't have all the answers, but specifically, you're not less faithful if you're still sick. Like that,
Yeah, like Jesus saying, "Daughter, your faith has healed you," does not automatically mean the inverse of that. Like your lack of faith is hindering your healing, or you're somehow failing, or God is waiting for you to just try harder to have more faith before he allows for your healing or the healing of a loved one. Like, I don't think that's at all what Jesus is saying. And that bodies that are stuck in this world of brokenness are not representative of our faithfulness. And that does not mean that faith is not important. But I think it does mean that we can still acknowledge who God is and God's goodness and be faithful to God in the ways that we can and are able, even when we are sick.
Yeah.
And it's not a measure of it, and that also isn't a hindrance for us.
It's important to remember that, because it's easy to, when you're looking at these stories and Jesus literally says, like, your faith has healed you. That was surprising.
Wow, it's 12:30, everybody.
Awesome. Like, it's easy to forget and think, oh, maybe I don't have enough faith.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Or I'm not trying hard enough to approach Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that I haven't been healed. In a similar sense, though, I think it's also crucial to acknowledge that when we say these are healing passages, we're not only referring to the physical healing that's taking place. These stories in this particular passage are stories of physical healing, but that's actually not even the only type of healing that's taking place. And Jesus really, really goes out of his way to
showcase that
and to provide healing for the woman who bled for 12 years, and then this girl and her parents opportunities for emotional and spiritual healing that come in conjunction with their physical healing. And so there's no sectioning off of healing in Jesus's world.
Yeah, it's like Jesus isn't deliberately trying to be like, no, don't stop at the physical healing. Like, that is only one thing. That is an amazing thing, but that is not who I am only. Like, I'm not only here to physically heal you.
Yeah.
And he does that by, like, he stops. Like, he's healed the woman, but he still stops to talk to her. Not to heal her physically anymore. Like, that's done. She's happy. She is a happy clam of joy that she is physically healed instantaneously is what it is.
And that she felt it.
Yeah,
she knew when she does eventually have to speak. She says, like, I touched him and I was instantly healed. So I can't even imagine just like all of the sudden knowing that I am healed.
12 years of pain, like, it's over.
It's just done. That level of healing. But Jesus could have just kept walking.
Yeah. He was like,
he was already a man on a mission.
She wanted. Like, she just wanted the physical healing. She was like, okay, if I just touch him. She wasn't going up there being like, okay, I got to talk to him and I want him to
acknowledge me in front of these crowds that there's so many of them. They're crushing Jesus. Yeah. Like, I love attention.
Yeah. No. She got up there and she was like, I just need to touch his cloak, not even him. So, like, she, in her mind, we would think that
she's gotten what she came for.
Yeah. But Jesus knows there's more.
Jesus knows that there's more. And Jesus was already, like, Jairus had already come to him and said, my daughter is dying. Please come to my house. So Jesus is on his way to what we would probably easily consider a much more urgent need.
A child.
Like, there is a child who is dying.
Yeah.
And there is a man of a significant amount of authority coming to Jesus and saying, I need you to heal my kid. That's an insane amount of desperation. And Jesus still takes the time to turn around and say, something just happened.
Yeah.
I know that power has gone out from me. And he sets time aside to acknowledge this woman, not
see her,
outing her for the risks she took, which were significant.
Not like, you touched me, now I'm unclean. Like, he wasn't doing that.
For her to be, pushing through the crowds, touching Jesus, like, because she was bleeding under the Levitical law, she was like ritually unclean. And anybody that she touched was also unclean.
Yeah.
So this didn't just have to do with her purity, but every single person she interacted with.
Yeah.
And if anyone found her out, the consequences for that were huge, on top of the fact that because of her uncleanliness, she was already outcast from society. She couldn't interact with people. She couldn't worship in the temple the way that everybody else could. So she's already so cut off, and she's taking a risk of making that only worse. And instead, Jesus turns to her and says, "You are healed." He publicly acknowledges that she is no longer unclean.
He calls her daughter.
He calls her daughter and names her as worthy and whole. And there's something so beautiful about that, because he doesn't just restore her physical body, but also her social status. I can imagine emotionally, like 12 years of doctors and nobody being able to provide you answers is exhausting. And to have that all relieved in a moment.
And not only like not having answers and like having this painful like thing you're going through for 12 years, but like she has a family. You would have to assume like she has a family, she has friends, she had them, and then she doesn't have them for 12 years. Like that in itself is emotionally painful, being cut off from everyone you know. So yeah.
And now she gets to go back and say, you know, not just the priest has told me or some synagogue leader has told me that I am healed, but like this man Jesus, who is supposedly very powerful, like, you know, word is getting around if there are these crowds chasing him, like he is the one who has told me that my life is now changed from now on. And that carries like weight, like the reputation that Jesus would have had would have meant that her testimony was incredible. This story is insane.
Yeah. And insane also in the way that, like, again, he stops. I think that is a pinnacle point of like, whoa, because like you said, he was on his way to a little girl, but not even that, like he was following Jairus, like a synagogue leader, a guy. He was a man who had
following another man.
Yeah, but he had a lot of power in this time. And arguably one would say that maybe his testimony or Jairus speaking goodly, that's not a word. Well of Jesus would have carried more weight. It would have been like, oh, this cool guy. But no, he stops and now it's a woman. Like,
and an unclean woman.
An unclean woman. And he's like, in this time, like most people would want to be in the good books of the synagogue leader.
And, you know, the purity laws.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work to go from being unclean to clean. Like in the Levitical laws about bleeding, once the bleeding has stopped, you have to wait 7 more days and then you offer a sacrifice.
It's not easy. 1
dove or 2 doves. Don't remember off the top of my head. But there's a lot of work into this spiritual ritual changing.
It's not like I'm just going to have a shower and we're done here.
And
like,
Jesus did that for her in a moment. Also at cost to himself. But we already know Jesus doesn't care about those things. No, or maybe not that he doesn't care, but that he has his priorities straight. Everything for him is ordered properly. And yeah, I do love in this passage that it does feel very jarring that Jesus just stops what he's doing to acknowledge this woman in a very vulnerable position. But it's been a good reminder for me to remember that all of Scripture, like the Old Testament, also tells stories of God going out of the way to acknowledge women in their most vulnerable situations and affirm their dignity and their worth and their value in the kingdom. And one of my favorite kind of fun facts about the Bible is that in Genesis, the very first person to name God, so in the Old Testament, you'll see a lot of like Jireh, or Yahweh is a name for God, or Jehovah, and they all have slightly different meanings. And the very first one that is ascribed to God was from a woman. Her name was Hagar, and she was fleeing from abuse in the desert. She had a very, very small baby with her. She had gotten pregnant and been cast out. And God meets her in the wilderness and provides for her and her son, and vows to protect her son for the rest of his life. And she names God El Roi, which means the God who sees me. She says, I have seen the one who sees me. And this idea of
we see it again in this passage.
God stopping
Yeah.
and seeing this woman.
When he doesn't have to.
No. It's nice that he did, though.
It's not like, but in our humanness, like, it's like she's healed. Like,
Move
he
on.
does it. Move on. Like, there's a girl.
We got places to be.
Like, in our daily life, we do this. We're like, okay, great. Moving on. I have like 10 other things I need to do right now. But Jesus, like, is like, no. Like,
In fact, like, the physical healing might not even be the most important part. Like,
yeah,
you know, like, that's great.
it is amazing. But
To be acknowledged by God in that way is really, really powerful. And I think it's also a good reminder for when we don't experience physical healing. Yeah. When we go through years and years of doctors and treatments and pain and things that don't work, that God can still heal us in other ways and be sufficient for us in other ways. Like, I think about the people in my life who I have watched suffer with sickness, but who are so calm and still and steady in their faith, because even when God didn't heal them physically, he met them in their hardest emotions and in the times in their faith where they felt like they didn't have faith, and he healed and restored those areas of their lives in a way that allowed them to continue to seek the presence of God even without physical healing, because we live with the knowledge that one day in heaven, like, our whole selves will be healed, and we will get to experience the total, complete wholeness. I guess all of those words kind of mean the same thing.
Yeah, but like,
really hammer it home.
True. Like, the crucifixion, like I said, it was an amazing foreshadowing, this story of like what Jesus ultimately is here to do, which is die on the cross for us and to take all of our brokenness and restore us in salvation, which again means like wholeness of body, mind, and spirit. And I think that wholeness is really shown in these passages of like, he's not just seeing your physical needs, but he's like, no, there's more.
And long term. Like, it's not just what we need for this moment, but what is going to set us up for a life of fullness moving forward. And I guess the point we're kind of really trying to
a roundabout way
trying to drive home is that they're throughout the book of Luke, throughout the Gospels, throughout the Bible, there are stories of healing. But I think what Luke is really trying to showcase is not necessarily the healing as the main point, but that these are all moments where Jesus revealed himself to people and his character and his nature to people who needed it, people who were observing it. And as much as he acknowledged the woman for her own sake, he also did that to showcase his power and authority over sickness and over our bodies that came to him from God to the crowds.
Yeah. And his care. Like, in the next part, he just raises a girl from death. Like, that in itself is what?
She was sleeping.
She was sleeping.
She was dead.
But like, no, but he does this, and like the parents are standing there, and we don't know.
Astonished.
Like, they don't say anything, but if my child was all of a sudden raised, like, you're going from grief to like holy, like, amazingness. And Jesus isn't like, yeah, applaud me, or like, look at me, guys. He's like, oh, she needs food.
She probably is hungry.
She's been sleeping so long, she needs something. And that just shows, like, again, who he is. Like, he cares.
And he also, Jewish, like, grieving rituals were very, very communal.
Yeah.
And so by the time Jesus gets to the house, there are people, they are wailing, there
are mourners,
weeping,
which is,
they're mourning. And it's this very communal mourning process. And Jesus kicks them all out of the house. And so
flipping the script again. Like,
allows this family this intimate moment without, he reveals himself, but not to the crowds this time. He protects the, emotions of this family and of this child, brings her back to life, and then doesn't just let everybody in and be like, I told you guys she was sleeping. He says, this daughter of mine probably needs a snack. And he cares for our full selves. He cares for our physical needs.
Yep.
And also deeply for our emotional and spiritual ones, and seeks to protect that. And that, I think that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think, one of the major, like, questions while we were going through this passage is, like, what if healing begins with being seen and not just fixed? Like, that's,
ouch.
Yeah. But, like, a different way of thinking about it is, like, I don't know, is that enough? Like, really, when you're in the midst of it, like, hearing, like, oh, God sees you, it's hard. And you're like, okay, great, but, I broke my arm, or, like,
Yeah, I did do that.
Yeah. But really, like, wrestling with that question is, like, what if healing begins with being seen?
Yeah. And I wonder, we'll never know, but I wonder if that was maybe the experience of the parents of this girl, I don't know. I know for me, when I am grieving, it's made, as an introvert, so much harder by the constant slew of people cycling through, and it feels very, very overwhelming for me. And so I can just imagine the relief of this man with all of this authority walking into my house and saying, everybody out.
Yeah.
I would just, that would,
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish Jesus would come and do that for me still.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus is an advocate in that way. And I can just imagine how healing that would be in that moment, to know that Jesus hadn't raised their daughter from the dead yet, but they had someone on their team who was looking out for them and caring for them in ways that they couldn't articulate, even though it went entirely against the practices of that community. Not that those practices are wrong. I think there's something really beautiful about grieving communally.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something
we do here at Core, right? Like, when things happen, like, people show up with casseroles. Like, they're prepared.
We are a great casserole church.
Yeah.
But I think in general, it's becoming less and less practiced. I think we kind of wall off our grief because we have to show up for life in other ways, and grief makes us uncomfortable in a way that seeing mourners and people wailing outside of someone's house wouldn't have made people uncomfortable. If I saw that, I would be concerned on many levels.
Is going on? Yeah.
But I think there is something important about inviting other people into the suffering we are experiencing with us. And I wish I had the wisdom of Jesus to know when things should happen in front of crowds, or when things should happen behind closed doors. I think I don't always do a good job of that as an introvert who would just love to always be behind. Just keep me out of it, Jesus.
But it's something to be said that, like, yes, communal, like, grief, coming alongside people, amazing. But in this story, like, Jesus shoots everyone out, like, goodbye, you know? And it's just him, his 3 closest disciples, and the parents, which is crazy in the time, but also, like, what he does later is even crazy now. Like, he just heals this girl, but him, like, his presence, like, being there, it sort of goes hand in hand. It's like, his presence is it enough in the midst of this, like, before the daughter is healed, before your situation changes, or before, like, when you're in that waiting, that pain, like, Jesus is there.
Yeah, it's not wrong to ask for healing.
Yeah.
But I think I feel challenged that I should first be asking for God's presence and saying that, okay, before I decide what I want or need the outcome to be. And I almost always, like, we desire healing because that's how God made us to be whole. And we live in a world where that's not the reality because of sin, but desiring healing is not the problem. But I think sometimes we do that without also desiring the God who brings that healing.
Yeah. Or just running to him, like, in fear, in pain, in, like, all desperation, like, just going to Jesus, who is already there. Like, he's not there present. He's not present, but sometimes it's really easy to forget or not feel him, or, like, be like, where are you, God? You know? But having that,
a posture.
Yeah, the first instinct to not wall yourself off.
Or not the first instinct, but, like, a conscious decision of, like, you know, kind of self-correcting.
Yeah.
And the, like, I want to go frantic.
Yeah.
I feel this desperation. Yeah. I am, you know, ready to break rules to get the healing that I desire. And pausing and saying, okay, I need to orient myself. I need to figure out where God is in this. And if I can't find him easily, then I need to ask for him.
Yeah. Finding that stillness.
To show up and just slowing ourselves down. And also acknowledging that also doesn't fix anything.
Yeah.
And that feeling afraid when, you know, our bodies are failing or our world is crumbling is not wrong.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that, you know, Jairus came to Jesus afraid because his daughter was dying. Yeah. And that is scary. And then Jairus is told that his daughter is dead. And Jairus has to trust the word of the people who said that. And Jesus says, well, I'm like, we're still going. Like, she's not dead. Believe, like, she's going to be healed. I can't imagine that makes the fear go away.
No. Or the grief. Like, yeah.
But nowhere. I mean, okay, Jesus does say don't be afraid.
Yeah.
But I think there is, like, Jesus was afraid before he went to the cross.
Yeah.
Sweating blood.
As you do.
As one,
no.
Is a, like, physiological response to intense fear. And Jesus still went to the cross.
Yeah.
So
this woman, she's trembling.
She's, like, shaking.
She's terrified. There's a crowd, like, a lot of people.
And if people find out what she's just done, her life is worse than it already has been. And it's been awful for 12 years.
Yeah.
And so I think you actually said it really well on Sunday, that Jesus wasn't asking for more faith. He was asking for Jairus to depend on God in ways that he hadn't before. And I think that that's a really helpful distinction for me in my times of fear, is if my fear is preventing me from depending on God or preventing me from stepping out in faith, then I need to not be afraid.
Yeah.
But there is a way to acknowledge the limitations of our bodies and how they express emotions, one of which being fear, and still walk in faith, still learn to depend on Jesus even when it doesn't make any sense, and to continue to show up in expectation and hope that God will move. But
it's hard. Like, and I said this Sunday, like, it is not this kind of like, okay, just pray, pray more, or just, ask God for X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, you're going to be scared. Like you said, you're going to be scared. You could be scared. You could be desperate, and you can go, and it's going to be hard. Like, these two people did stuff that was really uncomfortable. Like, I don't think this woman was probably wanting to tell everyone what has been going on for 12 years in this crowd. I wouldn't. I'd be like, can we go in a private room, Jesus? Like,
hey, Jesus, please stop.
And like Jairus, he's a synagogue leader. Like, he doesn't want to. It is uncomfortable.
Who's admitting his child is dying.
Yeah, and he can't do anything.
And elsewhere in the Gospels, can't remember off the top of my head, there's this situation where there's this man who is blind, and the disciples are like, so was it his sin or his parents' sin that made him this way? Jesus Uno reversed them and said, neither.
Yeah.
You need to fix your attitudes.
Yeah.
But there was that kind of understanding at the time of like, when people are sick or people, it's their fault or their parents' fault.
Yeah.
Like, it comes from this idea of like generational, like how sin carries itself through generations.
So this would have been scary for Jairus.
Because he's this man of spiritual authority who's in a situation that could potentially showcase to people that he's done something awful, or his parents have done something awful, or his child has done something awful, even though that's not the case and not what's happening.
Yeah.
It's just hard.
Yeah. And like we all have situations that it's just hard.
And I think it's also, I love this passage, and it also frustrates me to no end, because there are so many people who never ever get the physical healing. And I think for me, there's sometimes a bitterness that comes with that, of where are the people in scripture who don't get healed? Where are the people who go to Jesus and, metaphorically, like, reach for the end of his cloak in faith and nothing happens? And I think there is just no answer for that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't change who God is, but it sucks and it's not fair. And at the same time, I think there's still so much to learn about what Jesus desires for us, meaning that he doesn't desire us to not be healed. And he doesn't desire for us to suffer. And he doesn't want us to be outcast or cut off or in pain. And I don't have answers for anything else.
Yeah. And like, it's hard. It's something we wrestle with. It's something like going into this week, we encourage you to wrestle with, like, those questions that you don't have answers for. But it's one of those, why not now? Why, like, one day we will be restored in like eternity, like with Jesus, but why not now? And that's hard. But I think there's something to be said for physical healing isn't the whole point, and that is hard, and it's so
easy to focus on. Like,
Yeah.
You know,
like when you're going through it, you're like, okay, cool. It's not the whole, like, that's not the reason Jesus came down. He came down to like
reveal himself and talk about himself and be the Messiah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm hurting. And that's okay too. Like, it is okay to be frustrated about it. But we encourage you, and for us too, it's like wrestle with God with that. Like, talk to him.
He can take it.
Yeah.
That's not that, you know, I think like, I talked about this the last time I was on the podcast about toddler temper tantrums, but like I really like over and over and over again, and especially with passages like this, feel like instead of, you know, kneeling down in front of Jesus, trembling of like, oh my goodness, you've healed me, I'm like throwing myself at Jesus's feet, kicking and screaming and being like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
As if I have, you know, any ounce of authority to go to Jesus like that. But
Which is probably what Jairus was thinking. Like, Jairus was probably like, what are you doing?
can you pick up the pace?
Like, let's go. My daughter's dying, or my daughter's dead. And like being like, where are you? Where were you? And how can you move now?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Jesus's lack of urgency sometimes
shocking.
makes me go pitter patter.
Yeah. But being able to like talk to God about that, talk to Jesus about it. Like,
And, you know, the Jesus that we learn of in this passage is still good and worth knowing. And even if it feels like that Jesus isn't present with me, Jesus is whole in ways that we will never be. And that can be such a comfort, that whether or not I've experienced or think I've experienced the parts of Jesus seen here, like they are there. And I can rest in the fact that Jesus is consistent and he is perfect and whole in his care and compassion and critique and timing in ways that I will just never be. And that's an opportunity for us to be still and say, I'm not God, but you are. And so I can just let the urgency pass or attempt.
yeah. Again, hard.
Hard.
Like, stilling yourself before
It's all
God.
hard. Bottom line.
Yeah. If you're taking anything from this podcast, like, these are hard things. These are uncomfortable things. We see it in the passage.
They're not
We see
very
it in our
clear.
lives. They are not clear. We do not have all the answers. And that is okay.
I'm just a girl.
Yeah.
The most Gen Z thing I've
Yes.
ever said.
You can look that up later. But it is okay. And sometimes that is the point, to like wrestle with these things.
And to just really, I think Annabelle and I, as we were chatting, really wanted to wrestle with the, like, is just being seen by God enough? And
Can you be still?
what
and
does
be
that
seen?
change?
Yeah.
Because it's probably definitely not going to change the circumstances, but
Knowing that God has
can
ultimate
that be enough to
control.
change
Yeah.
your outlook or your perspective or just your ability to be at peace no matter what the circumstances are?
Yeah.
Yeah. And one day we will be whole. And that's really exciting to look forward to bodies that don't break when you fall down mountains.
Yeah.
And, you know, there will be no more sickness and death. And that all has a time limit.
Yeah. But in the waiting, in the now, in the questions and the like the not yet. In the hard seasons, or like just general, this is not a season, like it's been going on for 12 years. Like,
This
that
is my
kind
whole
of,
life.
Yeah,
the whole
that kinda,
calendar.
like, being seen by God, being seen by Jesus, and knowing he wants and is restoring you in peace. Like, can we grab hold of that peace? Like, can we sit still in God's presence and be like, okay, I got nothing left. Like, I don't know. I don't understand, but I'm giving it to you.
Yeah. And be expectant. Like Jairus and this woman who was bleeding were at the end of themselves. They had no options left. Yeah. And that ultimately brought them healing.
But also brought them to Jesus.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Like they're there.
Like sometimes I'm kind of jealous I didn't live 2025 years ago. Because I mean, I also live in North America, so that
have it pretty good.
Impacts my ability to just run into Jesus on my journeying, all the journeying I do.
But in their desperation, it brought them to God. It brought them to Jesus, and that's pretty cool.
And I think that is true and can be true for us too.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think we'll end it there.
We'll wrap it up.
But in this coming week, in the weeks to follow, when you're finding yourself in these seasons of hard, in these seasons of where are you, God? What is going on? I need healing and I don't know what's happening. Wrestle with that question. Like, what if healing begins with being seen? And what does wholeness look like for you?
And just, being still
Before
in your
God.
desperation.
Mm-hmm.
And
if you have any questions, you can
send them to the email that is somewhere.
it will be attached somewhere,
maybe in the description,
and not us, but someone will go through them next week.
Yep.
If you sent questions from last week, we did not read them. We don't have access to that email, so we will also be looking at those next week.
And this video, hit that subscribe button.
And thanks for tuning in to the Sunday Sit Down.
Thanks for listening and have a great week.
Mm-hmm.